This week on the Walk On podcast.
Talking about passions. I grew up dancing, and as a young ballet student, my teacher had a sign at the front of the class that said, "Never say you can't, say you'll try." That very much stuck with me, that you may not be able to do this leap or pirouette, but you gotta try.
Well, I was hanging around. Hello, welcome to the Walk On podcast. This is season 2. Excited to start season 2. We had a great first season, 5 episodes. We're going to have 6 this season, and we're ready to get going. As if you are a new guest or a new listener or old listener, the Walk On podcast is really about a journey for finding passion and purpose and leading with those traits in your personal life and in your work life. This journey started for me a couple years ago. Wasn't really in a great place professionally and really trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, which is interesting considering I'm 50 years old. So we're the back half of the career, but started this journey reading books about finding your purpose, finding your passion, living aligned lives, and decided to launch a podcast and hear from people who are doing it. And I'm thrilled with our guest today, Sharon Goldmacher, founder of Communications 21. I have known her for a very long time. We met, we won't say how long, but and I was going to give away a tip that would have given it away, but we met during the Leadership Buckhead program, which is a great chance for people to reflect on where they are and to change and grow and learn. We've worked together over the years. Sharon is a leader in the marketing and public relations industry. She began her career in 1987. Launching her own firm in 1992. She says at the naive age of 28 to see if she could do it. And just within the first 2 years, had explosive growth, won DeKalb Chamber's Stargazer Award for Small Business Startup of the Year, continued to receive awards after that. She's a regular speaker on communications trends and business, committed volunteer with organizations like the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, the past president of Council of the American Marketing Association Atlanta chapter, Hospitality Business Network Foundation, Blue Horse Association, just someone who's really involved in the community, really involved in her industry. I find it really interesting, and hopefully we'll talk about it. She was executive director of the Atlanta Local Organizing Committee for the planning and execution of the 2013 NCAA Men's Final Four. And she's just a real leader in this space and a true example of entrepreneurship and grit and stick-to-itiveness. So Sharon, and I'm lucky to call you a friend. It's great to have you on. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Michael. That was quite the introduction. I'm a little verklempt, I think. So that was very nice. It's a pleasure to be here today. So excited.
Well, good. Well, we're going to have a good conversation, but hopefully we'll have a good conversation. I'm confident we will. Talk a little bit about your career arc and how you found your way to where you are now as a leading executive in marketing and communications.
Well, I appreciate the moniker. I'm not sure it's completely earned, but I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was just talking about this with a team member the other day, that I remember reading, and of course everyone knows how old I am now, but I read What Color Is Your Parachute? Well, for me, I skimmed, probably didn't read, but I got to the job description of like a public relations professional. And I was like, well, that sounds kind of interesting, but I had no idea kind of the path forward on that. So when I was in school, I interned at a TV station, thought I was going to be a news reporter, and saw some pretty horrific things in New Orleans and decided that maybe wasn't the path for me. But I did some volunteer TV work when I moved to Atlanta. And through that, somebody said, you'd be great at PR. And I'm like, awesome. What is that? So I ended up really doing informational interviewing and met someone who recommended me for a job. And at the time I was waiting tables, so I was all in. And the first firm that I worked for was a small marketing and PR firm. And I got to do really everything. And I pretty much fell in love with all the things that we do in terms of just general communication and outreach and events and thought leadership and writing. And those things really became a passion. What didn't become a passion was really working for other people. So I worked for 2 agencies and kind of, cut my teeth and learned that I probably would be better on my own. And I was so young and I didn't really have a fear of failure. I kind of thought, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, I'm marketable, I'll get a job or I'll find something else to do. So that didn't really, I was very bootstrapped. So I also didn't have a lot of, money into it. So if it went away the next day, it wasn't really going to be that big of a deal. But that was 32 years ago. So I had,
It worked out. It worked out all right.
it was all right. Yeah. I definitely didn't plan for 32 years down the road, but here we are. So
that, I mean, I find that so amazing, right? I'm an entrepreneur and my firm's 10 years old and I know what goes into that, but at the tender age of 28 to be like, I love your optimism that what's the worst that can happen? I can go a different direction. What goes into that calculus? Like, how do you, decide to take that jump?
I had bills to pay. So that was
Mhm.
one. And yeah, I had support. I
Yep.
had some clients that I was doing some work for on the side, and they honestly were very encouraging. And, I just decided that, well, first of all, I'm headstrong and stubborn and all those things. And my dad was kind of like, go for it. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I think my background as well, talking about passions, I grew up dancing. And as a young ballet student, my teacher was very much had a sign at the front of the class that said, never say you can't, say you'll try. And
Mhm.
so that very much stuck with me, that you may not be able to do this leap or pirouette but you got to try.
Yeah.
And for me as a dancer and a performer and the things that came with that discipline, I think that was really very ingrained in me early on. And I just said, well, we'll give it a try. So that's,
What a powerful lesson at an young and impressionable age. And how does, now I'm going to go in a totally different direction. How does the confidence and the work ethic you learned in dance, how does that translate into entrepreneurship?
a couple of ways, I think, because you are both forced to be part of a team or a troupe or a company. And sometimes that means you have to all do the same thing at the same time to look good. So, if you've ever been to kid recitals where you have that one kid who's just a little off, that's not great. So you have to, learn to work together as a group, but there's also soloists as part of
Mhm.
the group. You might have to break out and be, do something for 30 seconds on your own, but still look good. So
Yeah.
I think that does teach you a balance. And you played sports growing up. I played sports growing up. There's a competition, as part of that as well. But there's the team, always the team. And I know I'm probably jumping ahead, but kind of lessons learned. And this took me a while to learn as a very young entrepreneur. I was not the best boss, but the team comes first. If you have good people and a good team, you can kind of do anything because clients are going to come and go at the
Mhm.
whim of a new leadership change, or, someone else comes in with an agency that they truly love to work with. And you can't control that, but you can control how your team is working together. If they're happy, if they're feeling balanced, that is in control. You can control
Yeah.
that. So that very much, I think it comes to play from my personal background into my
Yeah.
professional background.
And I love if you go back and think about one of the things you said was, you had support. And to me, that's also what a team is, right? You're an individual player, you have a job to do, but you're also part of a unit, so you're not alone. And dance, very similar. I find that really interesting. Well, we are going to jump around a little bit. We have some questions that we wanted to cover, but I want to dive into that. So one of the things you celebrate, and I worked on the team and was an outlier at Communications 21, but you are a women owned and really operated business. And most of your team, almost the entirety of your team over your years has been women-based. How Talk a little bit about the rationale behind that, and as you're building a team and supporting a team, how that manifests.
Yeah, well, Michael, you have the claim to fame of really one of less than five men
Yeah.
that have worked here in 32 years. You know, it's interesting when I was thinking about your questions. I'm like, what a time to be a woman right now, which
Mhm.
10, 15 years ago, I would have never said that. You know, look at our vice president and our presidential candidate. Could that have happened 15 years ago, 20
Right.
years ago? Nope. It is, it's, it's a great time to be a woman right now. So not that I was ahead of my time, but I think women tend to communicate a little differently than men. And we tend to, I would say, given the years of experience, we tend to be a little bit more inclusive and we're good multitaskers. Not that men aren't, many men aren't, but many men are. But I think from a communications perspective, I think women have a little bit of an edge. I am not a mom. I am a dog mom, but there is a level of communication, I think, that happens at in a family structure that can get brought forward in a place of business that is a little bit different. And I think being women led, from my perspective, giving women an opportunity, and men, but again, primarily women, an opportunity to learn, gain that support, really flourish, whether that means flourish here or find their next best career move. That's a source of pride for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing that had been lacking, maybe less so now, although I still see it here, is there's not a lot of education around, say, financial literacy and making sure that if you don't want to be married, that you don't have to be married, perhaps, or that you can thrive on your own if given enough information and a plan so that you can, have your own money and buy the things you want to buy, live the kind of life you want to live, and making that clear to my team members early on when they come here. Like, this is how you can maximize everything that you do here. To me, it's really important because I don't necessarily think that I didn't get that in school. I don't think that's really taught in school. And I don't know how much it's taught at home either.
Yeah.
So I also am on the board for the Commercial Real Estate Women here in Atlanta. And that's an organization of 14,000 women in commercial real estate around the world. Our chapter is maybe the top 3 chapter in terms of size. And it is filled with women who make their own money, rehab developments, all kinds of things. And it's inspiring to see the level of success and leadership, and yet in a very male dominated industry.
Yeah.
Real estate
for sure
still is very male dominated, but I mean, these women are powerhouses and it's just awesome. And I want that kind of, instilled spirit here with the team that's here. And we do have a man on the team, but yeah, he stands alone. So.
Well, I mean, having been in those shoes, you do a really good job of being inclusive. And, while you do want to empower and focus on women, you do that with all teammates. So very well done. I think that's really impressive and important. And yeah, those are those are the life skills we're not teaching. So you're really focused on the holistic being, not just how good are you at your job, but how good are you at life, or how prepared are you for life?
Hopefully. I mean,
yeah,
I have an opportunity and a responsibility, and I take that seriously, but
yeah,
we also have fun. It's not all work and life planning. So
you do. Anyone just needs to spend some time on your social media to see that you regularly have team outings and, service projects, and it's fantastic. want to go back to your statement about, just an amazing time to be a woman in the workforce. Why do you think there's been this convergence, this change that sort of the rest of the world caught up to what you were doing?
Whew, that's a good question. I'm not really sure I have the answer. I think it's a lot of women who made a lot of sacrifices before us and who continue to make sacrifices. I, I don't know. I mean, I think the generations are definitely different. I'm the last of the boomer, okay, boomer, I'm the last year. Kind of bums me out a little bit, but I think the millennials and Gen Xers, Gen Zers for sure have a completely different mindset. So
Yeah.
I, in terms of how they may have been raised, I think more women are in the workforce. I think that impacted how they were raised and what their belief systems are. And so, yay, I think that's great. I also think that there's more organizations, more funding available,
Hmm.
whether that's to women, women of color, et cetera. There's been a shift. And, one of our clients is a certification agency for women-owned businesses. They are part of a national network for WeBank, which is the Women Business Enterprise National Council. And since we've been working with them over the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years, they've gone from about 900 certified businesses in the 3-state region to over 1,600.
Wow.
And so I think women entrepreneurs, given the internet, given Shopify, given just the access to be able to sell product or
Mm.
services, has really leveled the playing field. And I think you can still maybe have a full-time job or a part-time job and pursue a passion to fill a need that they may see personally, and then they want to fill that need professionally, and it becomes a job, which just wasn't available,
Yeah.
before the internet and before social media. Really, it was hard. I mean, we had someone answer the phone. That's how we
Right.
did business. I mean,
Yeah.
in our lifetimes, and obviously you're much
Yeah.
younger than I am, just the technological changes we've witnessed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. So
Yeah.
to go from a dummy terminal where you'd have to type up something and print it and have someone go look at it, and none of that is just so foreign to people.
Yeah, and just, not to go down that rabbit hole, but the marketing and communication industry, the tools that are available, that, just really having to stay on top of the evolution of the industry, which you've done remarkably, and your longevity speaks to that. Speaking of change, your company is a roadmap and a model in and of itself for future leaders. But what would you say to the next generation of leaders that want to go out and start their own marketing firm or their own business? What advice would you have for them?
Go for it. I mean, I think it is the bar to get started now is so much lower in terms of the ease to do it. Don't fear failure. I fail every day. I am so behind on email. I can't even imagine what I'm missing right now. Like,
Right.
it's freaking me out. But if you don't try, you don't do this. I'm not big on, like, I'm not a person who makes New Year's resolutions or things like that. But I do try to spend a little bit of time thinking what is the next thing that, I want to do. It may not be a 10-year plan, which, I'm terrible at long-term planning, but like a year, I can kind of visualize what should happen in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was our best year ever in 32 years, which I didn't make happen, but team effort, and it happened. It was so much fun last year. I mean, and to be this far in to have that kind of fun, I think was great. But we do a planning session and we write down stuff. And I think, like reading that book, it kind of it can manifest into the outcome. And so for people thinking about it, write down some goals and just go for it.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned this earlier, and I want to see if you want to revisit it a little further. But you had talked about how you've changed as a manager and a leader over the years. What do you think that change looks like, and what went into it?
Yeah. So I was pretty, let's put it this way. I have high standards for myself, and I expected everybody to just be me, I think. And that was a very egomaniacal approach, I think, to management. I didn't read management style books. I was ill prepared for people. And people all need different things. Every
Yeah,
person is different. So it is not a one size fits all. I work long hours because I kind of don't have a life, and I love what I do. And so I never really thought of this as a job. This this
mm,
is my identity, and I enjoy all the things, the good, the bad, the ugly.
yeah,
I try to minimize the ugly, but
yeah,
and so I have become a kinder, gentler, much more flexible boss. But I will say, like we've championed a 4-day work week here. And it
hmm,
was, we piloted it, we tweaked it, and I'm much more comfortable with it now than when we first started. But you got to work the kinks out. And, it's a huge selling point for people who are considering joining the team. And I think that's great for being a small team. Oh, we may not be able to pay as much as a big company, but where we can offset that with more flexibility, more PTO, those are the types of things that I've learned over time that it's best to do. Again, keep the team happy and all good things will happen. But it took a long time, and it definitely took, moments of losing good people, which was painful, but those are all moments in life where you learn and you pick yourself up and you decide, hey, maybe I need to change my style. And and I did. Sometimes I still battle it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay. Because my nature is my nature, but I talk through it with people. I
yeah,
get other perspectives, and sometimes I'm maybe a little tunnel vision and I need to hear from trusted advisors. And sometimes I'm right though. And sometimes you have to say something, I mean,
yeah,
it's, you have to trust everyone on your team, and everyone has to trust me as well.
yeah.
And I have their back 100%, but they need to have each other's back as well. So
Yeah.
it is a job
That's a challenge of entrepreneurship though, is right. Your name's on the door. Well, yours is,
ish. Yeah.
communications 21, but you're the, it's your shingle, and you want it done to a certain standard, and you want, things to live up to. So that's a hard balance of doing that. But I appreciate the journey you've been on with that, and just watching your team and having worked with your team as a client on the client side, you are investing in people, and that's evident. And you have great people on your organization, and I love that you do empower them too to grow and maybe try something somewhere else or try their own thing, and that letting people leave the nest and empowering them to do that is really a great testament to your leadership. So how do you keep the passion going for your company, for the work you do, your personal life? How do you stay sharp?
I don't know if I'm sharp. Today I do not feel sharp, but it is a bit of a balancing act as everyone struggles. I think as I said, this is, I love coming in here, but like on the weekends, I will not let anyone come in because like my sanctuary.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just read email. Sometimes I shop online, but it's away from my dogs. And it's like away, it's just peaceful. And I
Yeah.
know it's weird to say that, but sometimes, I have to work on a proposal, and I can only do that when I can concentrate and I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, answering or being helpful, hopefully helpful to, the team or to the client deadlines. So I'm not the most efficient person in the world, but I never come in here. I have never come in here and gone, unless it's all I'm doing is time entry, then I'm totally like, ugh, kill me now.
I'm with you.
So, but that is a passion. Just, I was lucky and I found the thing that I wanted to do, like fell into it, whatever you want to call it, but it's the thing for me. Like, honestly, we were approached to be purchased 2 years ago and was kind of going down this path of should I, shouldn't I, could I? And when I got to the could I work for somebody else, I was like, I don't think I can. Not yet.
Yeah.
It's possible in another 5 years. Yes, maybe I want to do less. But right now, the thought of that was just nauseating.
Yeah.
And so, and honestly, it just wasn't the right fit. Like they didn't have a role defined. So I'm like, if you don't have that figured out, then I'm not doing it for you. And it's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And then I met somebody on the team and I was like, ew, no, definitely not the right fit. So, so not to say that isn't in the future or whatever, but I think when I'm not here, I have a new e-bike, which for Atlanta, I love, because I go up the hills and I'm not dying. So that's good.
Yeah.
And I have started pickleball. I hate to say it, but it is super fun. I did play with our friend Kirk.
Okay.
Who started our match with, of course you understand, losing is not an option.
Well, that sets the bar right there. Just we're in it. And I mean, I know you're not generally up for losing either. So, kind of a good match, but.
Because I literally said to him, do you even have to tell me that? So I just have to tell you, we lost.
It happens.
But then we played a second game and we crushed them. So
there you go.
It was good. So,
I mean, Sharon,
I golf and, try and get out and do things, but.
And find time to unplug from the office.
Yeah.
I just an observation. I love, you thought about the acquisition opportunity. And to me, what I think is I'm finding an ingredient in those entrepreneurs who are really, truly the most successful, however you want to define that, it's that the work isn't work for them. They're doing something they're passionate about, right? So for you, it's not necessarily, I don't want to work for someone else, although I'm sure there's some of that. It's, I want to do the work and I want to do the work I want to do the way we want to do it. And to me, I'm finding as I talk to people, that's an ingredient, is just they're passionate about the work.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not a 4-letter word for me. It's
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is awesome. I could do this all day long. And hopefully when I'm in Atlanta soon, we'll get to see each other in person. But thanks for being on the podcast. This was great.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. You were a great interviewer. Didn't even think that you wouldn't be. It was amazing. Your lighting and your lighting's way better than mine. So that's good too.
Well, my sound's not great today. Hopefully that doesn't come through, but the lighting we work on. But where can people find you online?
You can find the company at c21pr.com. And there's only a few Goldmachers out there. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Sharon Goldmacher. And hit us up on social media. We love followers.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. This is the Walk On podcast, people leading with passion and purpose, providing a roadmap for your personal journey. Hear their stories, find your passion, walk on. Again, Sharon, thanks. Good to chat with you.
Thanks, Michael. Great to see you.
Next up on the Walk On podcast. And I think we get so focused on, I'm intent on finding an answer. I'm intent on bettering myself. And we lose that perspective and space of listening to ourselves, listening to the world around us, whatever form you want to take, find that space to be quiet for yourself and to truly listen to what's inside.
I think the other piece to that is not judging what comes up. And that's really hard to do because sometimes the answer is not what you expect or is not what other people expect for you or of you.
I can't believe you didn't notice the 1,000 times I walked by. I must have looked like a neon sign saying, look at me, won't you look at